proceed to awaken the god with his retinue of priests. The god is still sleeping, as every night. In his tabernacle that is sealed every evening. Pharaoh came into the divine presence this morning. He purified himself in the waters of the sacred lake. He will proceed to awaken the god with his retinue of priests. Still sleeping, as every night. In his tabernacle that is sealed 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 every night.
Hello, everyone. I am Joshua William Gelb, and welcome to Theater in Quarantine. It's Monday, January 11th, and it's 9 o'clock here in New York City. Thank you for tuning in and joining me for Closet Works Volume 8, our long-running series of short pieces. It's been a little over 9 months now since I converted the closet behind me here in the East Village, measuring 4 feet wide, 8 feet tall, and only 2 feet deep, into the white box digital performance laboratory that we call Theater in Quarantine. With co-creative director Katie Rose McLaughlin, we've been expanding our roster of collaborators and working with some incredible institutional support, such as from La Mama, Culture Hub, Theater Me Too, and the Invisible Dog Art Center. The performance tonight runs about 25 minutes, and afterwards, I'll be hanging around with the collaborators Katie Rose McLaughlin, Karen Olivo, Erin Ortman, Johnny G. Lloyd, and Gavin Price to discuss the process of making this evening of work, including all the technologies we used. And we'd love to answer any questions you might have, so make sure to drop them in the comments section. Now, below in the description, you'll find a link to our Fractured Atlas page where you can make a tax-deductible donation. Every single one of your donations goes directly to tonight's collaborators, so please consider helping support this work and all the artists who make this work possible. In fact, now that we're officially part of the YouTube Partner Program, thanks to hitting over 1,000 subscribers and clocking over 4,000 watch hours, you can now tip us directly in the chat. You just have to click on the $ below. And it looks like Mel already tipped us, so thank you, Mel. Thanks so much. I wish I had confetti or something that I could throw anytime someone tips. I'll work on that for next week. Anyhow, make sure to subscribe to the channel to keep up to date on all the upcoming shows. I believe there's also a link to our mailing list in the description, too. Also, be sure to check out some crowd favorites on our channel, including the recent New York Times Critics pick, I Am Sending You the Sacred Face, by Heather Christian. One final reminder that what you are about to see is indeed live, as everybody at the 7 p.m. show found out when we had quite a few technical difficulties to start. We're crossing our fingers for tonight. This is not a film. This is not a pre-taped broadcast. This is happening right now, in a closet, in my apartment. So let's get started. I am going to take 1 minute so I can get into places. Thank you again and enjoy Closet Works, Volume 8.
Josh Gelb. This is challenge 1.61803398875. Take off your clothes. Now Spanx. You can fit into that, right? Just shimmy for now, and we'll go up a size for next time. It's okay. Don't worry. B minus H is less than 1 inch, and H minus B is less than 3.6 inches, and B minus H is greater than 9 inches, or H minus W is greater than 10 inches. Flat tummy, suck it in, suck it in. Suck it in. No wrinkles, it must be smooth. Can you have a thigh gap? That's acceptable.
1.61803398875. 1.61803398875.
Waist trainer, please. Every single clasp must be fixed. Be precise, because this is important. Take your time, even though we're already late. Remember, purse your lips, shoulders back, dip your chin. If h minus b is greater than 2 inches, and h minus w is greater than 7 inches, and hh/w is greater than 1.193, then h minus b is greater than 3.10 inches. That's good. That's right. Ah, aren't you pretty? Do you feel sexy? Great. Now the dress. You must enter from the bottom. Make sure you pay attention to the lining. The lining is key. If you don't get the lining, it won't look right. Remember, not to sweat. If you sweat, this will be impossible. If 6 inches and h minus w is less than 9 inches, then b minus h is greater than 3.6 inches, and b minus w is less than 9 inches. If you sweat, it will get harder. So stay calm. It should look effortless. The clothes just drape across you like a Grecian goddess. Can you have a thigh gap? Mind the lining. The smoothness is key. Slow is better, but speed is best. If b minus h is less than 1 inch, and h minus b is less than 3.6 inches, and b minus w is greater than 9 inches, or h minus w is greater than 10 inches, don't forget to lower your gaze while you're looking over your shoulder. Can you make the Spanx invisible? We need them, but can you make them invisible? We need that thigh gap. Can you fix the bust so the bust looks voluptuous? Do what you can. If there are wrinkles, it will ruin the look. We want effortless, not managed. If b minus w is greater than 1 inches, and b minus h is less than 10 inches, then b minus w is greater than 9 inches. Your arms, those arms. Can you make your arms 3 inches shorter? Stop sweating, that's silk. It's silk. b minus h is less than 1 inch, and h minus b is less than 3.6 inches, and b minus w is greater than 9 inches. Shoes are next. Can you speed up? We don't have time. Fix your face. This should feel effortless. Effortless. So you don't break it at the heel. You want to show the face of your foot. You don't want to show the heel of your foot. More of your foot. We want stability. Beauty. Effortless beauty.
1.61803398875. 1.61803398875. 1.61803398875. 1.61803398875. 1.61803398875.
We have to go soon. Are you losing consciousness? If you wanted to replace yourself, you can still do it. All of your weight is not on the heel. We have to go. You're already late. Smile. Now smile. Now smile again. Where your underwear ends, you get that muffin top situation. Where your brief is, you get a line across the butt. There's no way. Also, what is that? Arm meat? There's a lot of arm meat on display. Can you get your elbows into your actual waist? You can't bring them any farther together? Can you relax your ribs? Relax. That's actually really close. How do you make your neck look more regular? Look over your shoulder. Lower your gaze. Fix your face, Josh. Effortless. You look like a goddess. Are you losing consciousness? Dip your chin. Head askew. Purse your lips. Josh, smile. Josh, there you go. Do you feel beautiful? Are you losing consciousness? Lovely. It should feel effortless. You should look effortless. Wasn't that fun? Aren't you lucky? Such a goddess. Effortless goddess. Are you losing consciousness? Wasn't that fun? Are you beautiful, Josh? 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 Have you achieved it?
Yeah, beauty as data is crazy.
These measurements are also making me think of how a tape measure is consistently taken to our bodies.
Mm.
It's interesting how it is so much ensconced in the theater. I still have these memories of being in makeup class. Karen and I went to the same undergrad, so I don't know, Karen, nothing has changed in all the time that's passed. The face is like put into these 4 quadrants. It's broken up mathematically. I love that Katie Rose just said, but also this idea that it could be like moved in my mind. It's like a puzzle piece. You could just kind of like these pieces could move around. Karen, to your point, when I was trying to find sort of like that same thing where the body would be put into quadrants, many things came up about just the measurements for clothes.
Is there more sensitivity when you're working on a bigger scale? Like when you were getting fitted for, I don't know, something big. Do you mind talking a little bit about that process?
I've never really walked into a situation in which the measurements that I've given them have been the measurements that they assume once I'm in the room. And it's different for TV and film. So like for theater, they'll give you extra room, but for TV, they play trick with your brain and you tell them your measurements and then they bring you like 2 sizes too small to sort of goat you into like change your form. Like when I
Karen, can you talk Josh through the arm situation?
Shoe every single time. I have
You
tiny
fit
feet.
into my shoes, don't you?
Yeah, I have tiny feet. I can go pick up heels and pay less.
The other thing is you can hide, like, see how long this is? If I tuck this all the way behind and I only let this come over, it makes my arm look so much shorter.
It's like you're doing a magic trick, Karen.
But you can see behind, look how close my elbows are.
Yes.
What's that closed?
Well, Karen has really long arms.
True. I think I have really short.
They're damn near touching. They measured my wingspan and it was like, the dude looked at me and he was like, you should be 6'3". And I was like, cool.
Certainly that's not even possible, yet it's like a common practice. for women who are expected to look away a certain way.
Yeah, how do you make your neck look more, like you're just regular? Like, oh, me?
Oh, no.
It looks wacky. I don't want to play it.
Where were we? There seems to be an intention in this future version of self speaking to the other version of self, right? And that's what I'm trying to figure out as to like how active that should feel.
Sorry, say that again.
There seems to be some sort of like, oh, there it is. I see. Some sort of like, I am here to tell you that everything's about to go horribly wrong, and the visual of that, for like, I am here to tell you, I have made this recording to give to you, sort of thing. Like, there's a very specific image, very Back to the Future like in my head.
Yeah, totally. It's the warning before the bomb goes off, and the rest of the piece is the bomb, like the slow motion of the bomb explosion. Is this part of the piece? Just Josh looking really concerned and just snapping.
Like, yeah, and snapping.
We trying to make things happen.
Screen share. Where's my screen?
And I also
So
really
like
that. Yeah.
it's like it kind of like I have an astigmatism, and like this is like a really intense version.
That's what I'm playing with. So, here I am with the piano. And again, it can go big, small. I don't know if it could get life size. I haven't tried.
Yeah, I really like the flicker when it's bigger, because it kind of like allows it to.
And well, it's dangerous also, and it's like, what is it made of? It's like toxic, nuclear.
Well, it feels also like it's from the future, maybe from the past.
Mm-hmm.
I've been obsessed with Scriabin for like the last like 5 or 6 years. But I think it's because obviously it's the end of the world. It's the end of the world stuff. And I think I first became really obsessed with Scriabin right after the 2016 election. Great time to be obsessed with the end of the world. But the idea that like that artwork could create such a transformational change as to completely destroy physical matter, I thought was like both very interesting, also like delightfully delusional in a way. Like it was equal parts exciting and utterly ridiculous. We're talking a lot about disaster. And I think that the conversation that we were having around the potentials for disaster and the potentials for the kind of work that we were looking to do to kind of overwhelm really lent itself to this kind of like death push that I always think of when I think of Scriabin.
Hi, Alexander. Hope you're doing well. This is a message from the future. Everything is about to go horribly. I dream in sound. Some people dream in visual ways, visualizations. I dream in tone, in music. Visualizations and music are the same things to me. Occupy the same landscape as synesthesia, music. I am a musician, a composer. My music is a revolution, a changing of things. My music is a revolution. This is going to be important. The future is only the future for so long. Remember that by the time you think of the future as being the future is the past. Time waits for no man. Time is an island. Those are only a couple of sayings. I could come up with more with the urge. Hi, Alexander. Hope you're doing well. This is a message from the future. Everything is about to go The year is 1903. Every day for years, I have used my synesthesia as an opportunity to dream up a new world, a better world. Sound is wavelengths, light is wavelengths. We are light and sound. That is what is perceived. Hit the right wavelength and something can happen. A shift, a change, a catastrophe. This is what I want to do with my music. Cause a catastrophe. I sit down at my desk in Russia. I say my name for affirmations. Alexander, Alexander, Alexander. I consider how to cause a catastrophe. I notice that I appear to have received a message from the gods. I begin writing the piece of music that I will continue creating for the next 12 years. It is an epic. It is goal-oriented. I begin writing a piece of music that is very goal-oriented. The goal of the music, the mysterium, I call it a mysterium because it will be built to be a multi-dimension masterpiece of music and art and dance and existence. This mysterium will take place in the Himalayas. It will open up a portal that will set the world on fire. It will be my life's work, an extravaganza that will draw us into a new age by obliterating the old age. Runtime 48 hours! How to destroy the world. Overwhelm the senses. Create a pattern. Dance. Destroy a pattern. Sing. Travel to the highest mountain. Commune with nature. Pray. Die. Hi, Alexander. Hope you're doing well. This is a message from the future. Everything is about to go horribly. things take time. Take lots of time. But bad things can happen in 2 weeks. Bad things can happen in 48 hours. Bad things can happen in 28 seconds. The year is 1915. I come back from St. Petersburg. Rave review. Performing my own music. Yeah, I forgot I was performing for others. I was performing for myself. I get to St. Petersburg. It is April 2nd. There is too much noise. On April 14th, I notice a pimple. On April 6th, the pimple becomes a fever. The fever becomes a hormone. There's too much noise. On April 8th, the fever becomes an infection. Blood infected. I am delirious. I hear everything. I see everything. I see everything I hear. I hear everything I see. On April 10th, I'm bedridden. On April 11th, I'm hearing voices. On April 12th, the end is near. There is too much noise. 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 There is too much! On April 13th, I receive a message again.
Hi, Alexander. Hope you're doing well. This is a message from the future.
Final moments, and what you hear in my mysterium that I did not finish, I did finish in a way. It has brought forth a new age, death. The things you hear are some horns, a heavenly choir of millions of angels, the ground erupting underneath your feet. You hear a beating 4 times. A brief moment, one that was worked on across years, decades, centuries, some might say. A glissando of a piano. Orange, blue, red, purple, black, silence. 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 It's all music in the end. 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 It's all music. It's all nothing in the end. 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 It's all nothing. And it's all nothing in the end. 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 It's all nothing. It's all in the end. It's all nothing. It's all nothing in the end. It's all nothing. And it's all nothing in the end. It's all nothing in the end. It's all nothing in the end. It's nothing in the end. It's all 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 nothing in the end. It's Well, thank you all so much for watching, for joining us tonight. We made it through the show without a glitch, I believe, so that's very exciting. I'm Joshua William Gelb. You've been watching Theater in Quarantine, Closet Works Volume 8. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to zoom in all of the collaborators, Karen Olivo, Erin Ortman, Katie Rose McLaughlin, Gavin Price, and Johnny G. Lloyd. And we're going to talk a little bit and answer any questions you have, so feel free to just throw them in the chat. I noticed Mel and Alex, thank you so much again. You can, of course, tip us there. You can, if you want to send a tax-deductible donation, you can do that at the Fractured Atlas link. Also, please subscribe to the channel. That way you can find out about all of our performances, of which we've got several, including one in just 3 weeks. We're moving to an every 3-week schedule for sanity's sake. In 3 weeks on February 1st, we will have Scott R. Shepard back. Scott wrote Topside, which if you haven't checked out is a fantastic piece we did back in, I believe, May. And Scott's back writing a new piece for us, and we're just super excited about it. I think you will enjoy it as well. And that's February 1st. So I am so close to having everyone right here. Let me just connect the right input, which I always forget, but you know, then I remember. And I have my headphones, so we're all prepped there. And I am now going to introduce the collaborators of, let me just, bring them in and they'll introduce themselves. The collaborators behind Closet Works Volume 8, here they are. Katie Rose, would you mind just saying hello, just so we can get a sound level?
Hello, hello, hello.
That is perfect. I'm hearing you perfectly. So we got everyone in. Katie Rose, I desperately need a glass of water. Would you mind facilitating the introductions as I run away and come right back?
Yes.
Great.
Get
Thank
like
you.
A huge glass of water and maybe
huge glass of water and a little bourbon. That's how we'll do it. All right. I'll be back.
Hi, everybody. I'm Katie Rose McLaughlin. I'm the co-creative director of Theater in Quarantine. Thank you so much for tuning in and seeing this Closet Works version 8 which is crazy that we've been doing for this for this long. Gavin Price, you were in the first Closet Works we ever did. Do you want to kick off introductions?
Yeah, I'm Gavin, and I co-designed the sound with my pal John Gasper. We made some music, and we put the sound together.
Yay. Johnny?
I am Johnny G. Lloyd, and I was a collaborator on Alexander Moments Before.
Yay, thank you, Johnny. Erin?
Yeah, I'm Erin. I worked on This Is the Shape I Want, Now Make It.
Thank you, Erin. And Karen?
Hi, I'm Karen. I worked on This Is the Shape I Want, Now Make It.
Thank you all so much for sticking around and being here to chat with us. I really love these chats because it's an opportunity to create a community that you know, this is like the theater lobby. We're like trying to sort of create some sense of like, we all just did a thing together and here we are. And it was so exciting when Josh figured out how to bring us into YouTube. Before the first one we did it on Skype and it was just Josh and I, and the sound was okay. And then we tried it with Raja Feather Kelly and I and Josh, and the sound was awful. And then Justin Nestor helped us figure out how to make it happen. So we're really excited to have you all here. What do we want to talk about, friends? Oh, there's Josh. The first thing I want to do is just like tell Josh that he's amazing because it was so brilliant. Josh, we're all clapping for you. I want to give you time to do that. I just feel like.
I almost spilled everything and then I didn't. So we're good.
It looked great from here.
Great. Hey.
Hey. You're brilliant.
Saul, thank you so much. It should be effortless. It should be. Yes. So where were we? What did I miss?
We just did introductions and then we were just talking about how great you are.
Yeah. Oh, that's kind. Well, let's move past that though. Alex. Yeah, go ahead, Kara.
I was going to say exactly what you were saying. You keep going with that train.
Well, Alex says, thank you all for sharing snippets of the creation of the process of the first piece. Lots of honest conversation. So, yeah, I mean, do we want to like start with the first piece maybe with Shape and
that would be so lovely. I would love to just talk about how I think the piece came to us and then sort of how we created the piece. And I feel like Erin and Karen, if you wouldn't mind talking about that a little bit.
What do you think, KO? Do you want to take that?
Oh, well, I mean, we could probably tag team here.
I can talk a little bit about maybe like how the piece came to us part, and then I don't know, we'll see what happens. But and I actually like kind of couldn't remember, but I know it was like all these accidents. Like Katie Rose, like full transparency, you called me because you thought I was still, well, I mean, whatever, say hi, but you called me, I think, because you thought I was still at a job where I no longer serve. Mm-hmm. To see if there might be a potential collaboration with that institution in Theater in Quarantine.
And also in full transparency, like you've always been someone that I've enjoyed talking to. Like I feel like we check in like every 2 years and it's always like a really wonderful, like 2-hour-long conversation that we just like want to keep going but never have time for.
100%. And in quarantine, while I was walking through the mountains of Pennsylvania, it was definitely 2 hours. It actually, I feel like it was like 2 hours in that I was like, oh my gosh, Katie Rose, we're finally to the thing that you were probably calling about. I don't even work there. Like, oh shit. But then you told me about it and I was like, that sounds amazing. But I also felt like, I think you were just starting and you didn't quite know what it needed to be yet. And I was like, I was like, well, what about me? I want to do something. But then I think even hour 3, I was like, I just don't know if there's anything to do right now. I don't know if there's a thing to say and then Karen and I had just finished working on some version of I don't know, something, a piece that she and I are working on separately. And, our friendship was really blossoming. We were sort of having these transformations of self, as a lot of us have in quarantine, and, spiritual identity crises and blossoming. And we were having regular calls. And Karen was making some deep discoveries, which they can talk about. And then I don't know, you pick up the story, Karen, because maybe you could pick up my emailing you.
Yeah, we had like a really deep conversation about me changing my pronouns, and like I told you all of these instances that over my life that had made it so that I was like, oh right, this is what I was supposed to be doing. And I think there was like a couple of days or maybe even like a week, and then all of a sudden you called me up one day and you were like, all right, hear me out. What do you think about like making a piece about that? And I was like, everything in me says no. So yes. And so we sort of embarked on this really scary exploration of a new individual in a body that they're just kind of learning again. But we talked a lot about like my career. I've been in the business for like 25 years. And so a lot of hypersexualization of my form happened. And the concept of us taking these ideas about like what beauty is, and the female form is just a vessel and measurements and things like that, and then putting it on Josh was like a really wonderful like way of discussing an avatar. Like Josh putting on these clothes and having to go through this thing is actually how I feel, because this is that's not how I identify. And so we were like, how do we do this? And then all these amazing humans came together and walked us through this really sort of strange process. And I'm really glad that I get to punctuate this like momentous occasion in my life with like a piece of art. Like it will stand out in a completely different way. So thank you, Theater in Quarantine, and Erin, for letting me do this. But yeah, that's what it's about.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
I feel like it's such a just so amazing to work with people that we haven't ever worked with before, and to just like really dive in with artists who are unafraid, I think, of exploration and truth, and just trying to find a truth.
This is the best way to work. I don't know why I haven't been doing this all 25 years. It's so much more fun than all the other stuff I've ever done.
Thank you.
Relegated to Zoom for the rest of my life.
Can't wait. Yes. Well, we have a question from Mel. Approximately how much development time per piece? What is Josh's hardware setup like? FYI, the foot pedal in the first piece was cathartic. Oh, the foot pedal. Yeah. So I'll answer the second question first. I'll try and be quick about it. Usually I try to show people, but whenever I do that, I mistakenly disconnect the entire stream. So I have two computers. I have a Mac Pro that's my workhorse, where we do all the video processing. That is where I have a program called Isadora and QLab. Isadora does video processing, QLab does sound, and basically conducts the entire thing. And they send all that information over to my second computer, which is this one, which is where we stream. And that's where I have Streamlabs OBS, and Streamlabs OBS takes the stream and sends it over to YouTube. So I've got a webcam. I've got a Logitech Brio doing my main camera feed. I also have Katie Rose's old iPhone 7, which is doing our toy piano feed. And there it is, hanging on the wall there. And Yeah, and I mean this when we talk about the second or the last piece, Alexander. We can talk a little bit about that particular setup because that's like a sort of Frankenstein monster in its own right. But that is the setup, and yeah, we don't use the pedal that much. We automate everything, and it goes into my ears. That's how I'm able to time it to all the video processing. Which is pre-programmed. And that being said, the button does allow us to do a little bit of cueing if we need to. And so it's there, and it was kind of perfect for this piece. So I'm glad we dragged it out. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's talk. Yeah, go ahead, Kara.
I was just going to answer the first question just really quickly, which is each piece for Closet Works gets 8 hours of rehearsal, which is sort of next to nothing. 4 days, 2 hours. And that timeline came, what'd you say?
Plus dress.
Plus dress, sorry, plus dress. And that timeline came out of doing more movement-y type pieces. Yeah. And so for this evening of work, I think definitely both for Johnny's piece and for the Karen and Erin piece, I think we went over just a little bit, but still like not too much time, but it's because we're working with tech right from day one, there's never a process of having to integrate everything. We have everything in the room with us at all points in time. So we're able to actually get, I feel like, a lot of work done, and we never have to retrace our steps. We're always just creating and moving forward, which is exciting.
Gavin, talk to us a bit about you jumped in a little late into the process. And by late, like a couple days ago.
Yeah, I jumped in initially. I mean, I have worked with in quarantine in the past, but
many
I
times.
Jumped in. What's that?
Many times.
Many times. And I jumped in kind of late, and I was initially worried that there wouldn't be enough time, but when we got in the room, it was such a good kismet, and everybody worked so nicely together, and there were all these questions that needed to be answered, and there were so many unknowns, but everybody worked in tandem really, really beautifully. And like the questions that Erin posed, and she was able to distill these really complicated aesthetic ideas into like very simple this or that sort of questions, and it made the process so easy in a way. And so it was kind of fun to design in that way. And I also had some stuff from Johnny Gasper, my co-conspirator music-wise, I kind of felt a little bit of freedom to, use what he brought and throw stuff together based on what was already in the room. And I had been watching some of the footage that had already, some of the rehearsal footage that everybody had already done. And that was really exciting to watch because I saw like the piece in the rehearsal. I saw everybody kind of like coaching Josh to do the thing. And that to me was like, oh, that's the piece right there. It's like, we don't need to do that much more. and so it was distilled really quickly. And after that, it was only a matter of like determining what went where, kind of.
That impossible dress has been impossible tonight.
I think there's something so cool about the energetic moves that happen behind the scenes that I think are so profound, but it's so cool. Karen sent you a box of dresses. I mean, that is Karen's dress. She wore it to the West Side Story opening night. Those are Karen's shoes. Karen held up a bunch of gowns in her home in Wisconsin, and we were like, those. And then she put them in a box, and they were at Josh's house, and then they were worn by Josh. And I think that grounds the piece in a way that we can't always name.
Yeah.
But they're Karen's clothes, Josh is actually trying to put, and undergarments and Spanx and all of it, which also gave them like the authority.
Spanx, just so you know, those are your Spanx.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Karen.
And when you send me the dress, Josh, I don't want the Spanx.
Okay.
Just the dress.
I don't know if you want the dress at this point, but
I do. I want it. I'll dry clean it. I want it. But Karen's ability to shed that and like give it away, and then you to receive it and try to fucking like sacrifice yourself to use it. After Karen has sacrificed their body for so long, and it was something really beautiful in the exchange of that, the offering and the receiving. And the legitimacy of Karen being like, I don't want it back.
Yeah.
Keep it.
We have a question from Claire about the second piece. And Katie Rose, we never get to talk about Klexographic
We never
study.
get to talk about it.
So we should probably answer this question because it'll never come again.
It's true.
Claire asks, how did you create the movement in the red piece? Yeah. Well, first off, a little bit of backstory on Klexographic study. In red. We did a Klexographic study in black several months ago. Klexography is the art of ink blots, by the way, if you don't know that. And Katie Rose and I were doing a Closet Works a couple months ago. We were working on a piece. It sucked, and we cut it last minute from the show, literally hours before we were going to go on. We had been playing, I believe it was actually a tool, the quadrant sort of multiplying of myself was a tool we were using in that piece, but we weren't using it in that way. We were trying to make me pop out of 4 different small doors, and it was supposed to look perfect and beautiful, and I would just mess around with this ridiculous version of the tool, and said, Katie Rose, well, why don't we just use this thing and make a piece? But we only had hours. So Katie Rose, take it from there, Katie Rose.
Yeah, so I, as a choreographer, don't use improvisation very much. That's just not part of my practice. But because we had hours, and Josh is brilliant at picking up choreography quite quickly, but we just like did not have time to like make a dance. And so we decided to use some improvisation. So I recorded myself saying a score, just basically giving Josh direction that timed perfectly to the piece of music that we were using, which was really fun. And so when we did this one in red, I just recorded and I picked some music of Scriabin's that we really liked, and then
Tying it to the third piece.
Tying it into the third piece, exactly. And you have to talk about where that piece of music came from. But then I gave him a score, and I tried to make it. I mean, it's obviously quite different than Klexographic in black, but that's where the movement came from. It's Josh responding live to the prompts that are coming into his ear.
Yep. Yeah, so it's fun, and I liken it to like moving from a rose period to a blue period for a painter. It's a more painterly approach to kind of making art. We know we have this tool that we always kind of love, and we don't know why. It's kind of dumb, but it's
so dumb, but we love it so much.
We love it so much, and we want to keep doing it. And so, like, as long as we can find a different color jumpsuit and a different piece of music, we'll just keep making more and more of them. Because we love it. So that's Klexographic study. The music, though, is super interesting, and I'm awaiting my YouTube copyright claim in a moment. Because we get a claim from YouTube that we have done a cover of this track. Now, mind you, this was a track written in 1908 or earlier. This particular version was... I would say recorded, but recorded's not quite the word, in 1908 by Scriabin himself. So it's public domain, we're fine. That being said, it's fascinating because it is Scriabin actually recording his own interpretation of this piece onto a player piano roll. And that is what we have. And so that is the track there on Klexographic Study, which in its own way is a sort of mechanical loop or mechanical feedback loop, which is something we're playing with digital feedback loops, of course, in the subsequent piece. So that's there. Wait, I'm trying to read comments. Wait, Katie Rose, is there any other are there questions there? I'm trying to keep up. Everyone muted themselves.
Sorry, I was typing. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Agmina asks us if we've ever incorporated live music.
I'm going Agaminia.
I love that. That's so much better.
My husband.
I know.
It's my husband. It's
Yeah,
Alex Gemignani in some like shortened. It's not a mystery.
Okay, Erin's husband asked us, have we ever incorporated any live music?
Oh my gosh. And the answer is no, sadly. We're working on it though. This is something we talked about at the earlier show. Gavin, do you want to speak to this a little bit? Like the difficulties and or the ways it might be possible?
It's really tough. It's really tough to do that live music stuff. Well, I mean, I guess, if somebody was in the room with Josh, maybe it could work. But I guess y'all are getting closer to a, delay-free situation. And we've done that in Theater in Quarantine, and it was actually pretty technologically hefty in terms of it had a lot of layers to it to get to, a lot of delays built in so that we could all time out correctly. But, and so that was coming from 2 or 3 different places. But I've worked with a software called Jamulus, which is as a musician, you can play with basically no delay. But in Theater in Quarantine, we have not done that yet.
It seems to me that it actually would be more possible with music, just piping in music, than it is what we're attempting in our next piece, what we failed to do in a previous piece. But we think, thanks to Mr. Alex Hawthorne in the chats, who just built us a new piece of software that's going to help us with synchronizing a remote performer. The issue, of course, is making sure the remote performer is synchronized with their voice and their video. And that's been the tricky part, particularly because we don't have a third-party mixer. I am the mixer, and that is the problem. And that's a problem that other companies don't have.
Karen used the word one-man band at some point in time today, and I feel like that fits really well to this conversation.
Yeah. So, but that being said, it does seem like music would be doable in a certain extent. I remember the word I was trying to remember at the last talk back. It's an Orion Johnstone. Either Orion came up with it or Orion's, extended family came up with it, which is unison, which is a beautiful word to speak to the impossibility of unison in a digital experience. Yeah. So the unison, which is if you live in the unison, it all works. If you are insistent on perfect unison and perfect synchronicity, you're going to drive yourself a little crazy, as we sometimes do here. But that being said, there's something gorgeous also if it can be more fluid, if it can live in a klexographic study kind of vibe, where actually it is just, we find the liveness where the liveness is. So that's unison, which is a word I love. I do want to speak a little bit to Alexander, though. And so, Johnny, would you speak a little bit about the process, because we approached you in this instance.
Yeah. So I think, and this is my memory of the initial conversation. I did a short piece in the closet. Gosh, was that 6 months ago? That was 6 months ago?
Oh yeah.
At least.
That's wild.
Well, you wrote us that beautiful, minute-long script.
Yeah, very, very, very short piece. That was forever. Oh my gosh. Now thinking back, it's oh wow. And there's a question that's also attached now. Mentioned. Let's see. Yes. Okay. So,
So you have to, but no, you have to read it out loud,
I have to
Johnny.
start. Yes.
You have
Okay.
to you have
Yes.
to read the comments so they know you're responding.
Okay. Alex in the chat says, how did the third piece come about? Johnny, you mentioned in the behind the scenes section that Scriabin has been in your life for a few years. Did you pitch the piece? I did not pitch the piece, technically. So Josh and Katie Rose came to me and were like, hey, we're really interested in the way that basically when you're on YouTube, and you're trying to like watch yourself back on YouTube, there's like a delay between what's happening in real time and when you get to see it. And the delay is slightly different for everyone, and it creates weird uncanny valley things. It's the reason why everyone has to be like, you can't be like listening to the Zoom and listening to the YouTube at the same time, because you'll get extraordinarily confused and conversations will loop back in on themselves.
For instance,
in very strange ways.
For instance, we ask everyone in this conversation right now to mute YouTube in order to have this conversation for just this reason.
Yeah, so that was kind of the starting off point, and I was like, oh, of course I'm interested in doing something crazy.
It's in the past.
Vision from the past.
20 seconds in the past, but it's in their present, which is the crazy thing.
Yep.
So strange.
So I
was like, of course I'm interested in doing something like that. And the first day of rehearsal, we didn't know what we were doing. We got on YouTube and we created just a true horror experience where like we were sharing the YouTube screen, and so we had like 7 versions of ourselves, and then it was like it got to the place where we were like approaching the singularity, and so like it was like over time like the voices just like began like going like one after another, and it was like, oh, this is actually one of the most terrifying experiences. And we were talking a lot about kind of disasters, because this is obviously something that you weren't trying to do. Often.
No, it's something we were trying to avoid.
We were trying to do it, yes, and instead we were trying to lean into that. And as we were kind of working on it, I years ago had written like a failed play because about Scriabin, because after the 2016 election, I was just like it was distraught, yes, but also I think I subconsciously all of my dreams were about like I'm making something and then like the world is over, and I was like, what can I engage with that's like similar to that? So I had done like a bunch of research on him in the past, and like the thing hadn't quite worked the way that I wanted it to, but as we were kind of looking at like what to kind of hang the hat of this thing on, I was like, well, who better to go to for like a complete catastrophe, like a complete disaster, than Alexander Scriabin, who like literally wanted to like make the world explode in livid flame. Like it was like, it's like a full desire for like absolute annihilation. And then you look at like the story of his life, and you have this guy who's, he's this composer, musician, who is gaining in his career, and then just like suddenly just like gone. Just completely like, now maybe you would have seen the signs, but also maybe not. And that's the way that life is. So I kind of was like, I think that this might be the thing. And I sent a message and I was like, hey, do y'all know anything about this guy? And Josh was like, oh yeah, of course. Like I've already like heard of it.
Well, yeah, no, I had messed around with Scriabin in terms of a piece I was starting to build, or had been building for years and never has quite culminated in anything, about spiritualism, and so playing with synesthesia and the sort of spiritualist connection with color and all of that. That's where I had also found Scriabin in the Mysterium, because I was looking for composers who were part of that movement, and so yeah, no, I was like, yeah, of course, totally down.
Oh yeah, but it was really fun because I think one of the ways that we were able to work that I don't think you usually get a chance to work in is we knew what the technical thing was first, and so everything was kind of moving towards we knew what effects we had in our toolbox, and we could kind of like work with them and also around them and incorporate them in ways that were really organic because like we knew them from the start. So like the last moments, like that felt very organic for us to do that because we already knew the effect of what it meant to create this horror loop. And we were like, okay, well, how do we, how do you get there? Like, what do you want out of it? And it became, and as we kind of realized like how we could play around with that, so we ended up like, and even today it was a little bit erratic because you never know exactly what the loop's going to be. So the loop today was actually drastically different than what it has been in the past. It was much closer together in the playback.
We are using, and here's where true randomization comes in here. We're using, and part of, and I apologize to Erin and Karen here. This show is definitely the reason why the computer is so unhappy. We are purposefully overstimulating the computer with multiple browsers open. So we actually have the live show feeding through YouTube on both Chrome and Safari, playing through my speakers and being caught into a feedback loop live. So that's what's going on. And so there's total variability there, though, because Chrome and Safari are supposed to be playing it together. They're on the same computer, the same Wi-Fi, same connection, but they're not. So they're asynchronous and there's complete variability there.
Dirty.
But I think that there's something about like the experiment of that like made it feel like, and we were kind of talking about this earlier, but like that danger of live theater, like it's like we never know what Chrome and Safari are going to do. We don't know, and it also all came from a mistake in that I think I made, where like
we both made it.
It's your fault.
I think at different times.
No, it's totally my fault because I'm usually pretty good about being like, we both have to mute YouTube if we're going to keep our audio open. And Johnny and I were talking while we were doing this and we both left our YouTube open. So Johnny, keep going with your story.
Yeah. So we had this very strange moment where we were talking about a run that had just happened. And in my version, in the version of the run that I had heard, I heard Josh speak before I saw him speak, and then like I was getting like all of this crazy feedback, and so I kept on being like, oh well, it's really great because the second time you hear him when he's speaking, you understand what he's saying, and everyone was like, what are you talking about? Like this is like absolute nonsense. And we realized that it was because I was hearing something that wasn't real. Like the version of what I was hearing had not been captured, could not be heard again. We couldn't like replicate that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so the duplicity,
the dual browser system.
Yeah, the dual browser system was kind of like a way to figure out if we could like what we can control and what we can't control. And use what we can control, also understanding that like we will not actually be able to like master it. We'll just be able to kind of like allow it to do whatever it feels like doing in the moment.
Yeah. And I apologize to all of you sound specialists and music specialists out there who are apparently going through some sort of crisis right now. Yes.
Oh man.
Well, that's to say also that all of the feedback noise that you hear is like being generated in real time. Like it's like not like there's no effect on it. We're not doing anything to it. Like that like weird metal thing, totally real. Yeah, we didn't do anything to do that.
Karen, ask your question.
Well, what happened the dress where you guys were talking about we're in full chaos? It sounded like everything that's ever happened in the world was being pushed through the sound system. That was incredible. Was that? Yeah. Did you do that? Did the experiment just go off the rails at that point?
That was an extra layer of chaos, which was actually more similar to the first experience that Johnny and I ever had with this piece where we were like, what is happening? Because we were hearing Josh's built-in instead of like, which is the
you were hearing both of my mics. Exactly. That's it. You were hearing two of my mics, each independently, each a little bit asynchronous. So That's what was going on yesterday.
I felt like I was going insane. And I was like, this is effective.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I spent, I mean, it's funny. And in some ways, I think the two pieces complement themselves in some interesting ways here, right? Like, I spent a very long time as I was working on video for Alexander saying, oh my gosh, I think I'm cleaning this up too much. I think I'm making this too clean. And it's only at the very end, and that's where I draw the connection, particularly that moment of breath in shape. Only at the very end where I'm like, oh no, here is the mess. I disappear and we allow the mess to happen. And that is the cacophony. And if it were that for the entire show, it may be a intolerable 10 to 12 minutes. But we can build to that. We can build to the Scriabin's vision. And I feel similarly about that moment with the camera and that moment with the breath, where we just like strip it all down. And it's, so anyway, that's exciting to me. Yeah, okay. Alex Hawthorne's mind has exploded? Sure. I don't know what you're responding to. 28 seconds in the past, man.
I think just all of it. I think whatever you want it to be.
Yeah. Well, it's 10:16. I feel like it might be a good time for final thoughts. Am I right there? We've been going at this for a while.
Yeah,
Great.
unless anyone has extra questions that they've just been sitting on, now is your chance to get them out before we wrap this thing up.
28 seconds.
Yeah, I think we can start. I think we can start final thoughts.
And mind you, this is how we do dress rehearsals, where I will relay a question, and 28 seconds later, we'll get a response in the chat. That's how we do it.
Or sometimes things go off the rails, and I call Josh as soon as that happens, and I'm like, Josh, we're off the rails, and you're like, I already fixed it.
Yeah.
You're 28 seconds in the past. It's a thing of the.
But so at the end of our late show, we like to do final thoughts. Final thoughts don't have to be profound. They can be whatever you want them to be. They can be promotional. They can be anything. So that's just it. We go around, we do final thoughts, and I'm going to force Gavin to start.
I have a profound final thought, and it has to do with the Scriabin singularity thing, and it's something that I learned today, that I read about today, and it's a discrepancy in the understanding that we have of the nature of our reality, which is that Einstein and everybody always thought forever that a black hole, all the matter goes in, and it just gets erased. Oh no, I'm sorry. I said it wrong. All the matter goes in and it just stays in there somehow. But what they learned this year is that it goes in and it gets erased. And so now people are like, wait, so matter goes in, but like, where does it go? Nobody has any idea as to the nature of the cosmological, universe anymore. So exciting. It's post 2020.
That's when the screen abruptly cuts to black, right there. Johnny, no. Stop past Gavin.
It's my turn.
Yes.
I mean, the real final thought is like, I think it's, just like the invigoration of like working with people, like it's so special, and I think it's so easy right now to forget how special it is. But it's just so special to be like working with people and sharing space with people. The less serious thought is, I like you saying like it can be promotional is like, what if I was like, I'll partner with brands, like any brand, like if there's any brand in the chat that's seeing this like after the fact, like I have like 980 followers on Instagram. It's like, you know, I'm like, pay me 30 cents, like pay me in quarters, like I will take your money. And that goes for anyone, honestly. I'll take your money. Thank you for your time.
This has been so far the best final thoughts ever.
Oh, final thoughts are good right now. Erin, you have a high bar.
Yeah, but I mean, in my personal assessment, mine is profound. Not maybe, I don't know, we should have perhaps closed with Gavin, but I've been listening to all of this discussion about how we're really not having the same experience. And we're talking about it, at least in this conversation, very specifically in the virtual theater making space. But I'm also living I have found a deep optimism in my body and spirit. And I feel that we will be gathering again soon and safely. But what I think I'll speak for myself, have vastly underestimated is how true this might all be anyway. Like, we're sitting in tech going, wait, it's too saturated. And like, what if that person doesn't even see it that way? Or what if they live their life 28 seconds behind I? Or like, what if it's like on a loop for that person and not for me? I mean, I just wonder if there are like, do we need to keep our fucking egos in check, man? I mean, what if this is just real? What if this isn't Safari and Chrome? Like, what if this is you, Josh, and me, and we're co-making a thing? And what if I'm 20 seconds behind you? Like, just, I am.
Oh.
You know, it's pretty amazing, the space that we've made for that. You know, like, you know what, y'all, I'm on Chrome and you're on Safari, so let's just relax. Or, hey, let's explore that. Let's see how that can echo. And let's see what might happen if we just let that all be true. I'm like, what if we just let that all be true when we're back? And we don't pretend that it is all the same experience, because it isn't. It isn't all the same experience. In the room together, it isn't. So there's something about the beauty of like the individual within the whole that we could just maybe hold, that we are all living a completely different lived experience in that day. And that is huge for me. Did I beat Gavin? I mean, I don't know.
The competition.
It's not a competition. It's not a competition.
I'll see you here again tomorrow night, Gavin.
It's all about personal bandwidth right now, and I love it. And Spectrum will be selling you. It will be upcharging you for those 28 seconds.
And if they want to partner with me, I'll make sure that it happens.
Karen, will you send us off with a final thought here?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually in the realm of what Erin's talking about. You know, I am definitely experiencing something different from all of you. I mean, we had a conversation really early on about how I feel like I'm 8 months old, and I'm making art in a completely different way and thinking about it a completely different way. And it's really inspiring that regardless of this new way of thinking and being, it still worked. Like the experiment still took off. It still happened. And that's inspiring to me. Like, it makes me think that we can all do our own kind of transformation, and it's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. That's it.
Beautiful. Yes. Katie Rose.
I just want to thank everyone for coming into Theater in Quarantine, and for approaching this crazy process that a lot of you have never done before, with just like excitement and curiosity, and being ready to tell like big stories quickly. I feel like when you start to work with collaborators you've never worked with before, there's a long, what Rachel Chapkin calls dating process, where like you like get to know someone for a pretty long time before you like really like dip your toe into working with them. And all of you just like dove headfirst. And I'm really excited by all of the work that we were able to make because of your bravery and commitment to like true collaboration, and what Erin was saying as well, that like respect of each other's perspectives and point of view, and a desire to unify that. And also, of course, just thank you, Josh, for being such a genius.
Oh, please.
And being the reason we're all here.
Well, thank you, and thank you, all of you. You know, I swear, I'll show you, you know, at least this much. It is literally 2 feet deep, and it's 4 feet wide, 8 feet tall. You think you're gonna run out of ways to use a space, and you think it's gonna start to become inflexible and start to be redundant. And I'm just constantly amazed by the capacity for this thing to be able to continue to tell story. And I truly yield to this monolith in my apartment. So anyway, thank you all so much for joining us the past couple weeks, and I'm just so thrilled about how it came together tonight. Thank you all. That's to our audience who has stayed with us during this talk back, and those of you who happen upon it 28 seconds in the future, 28 days in the future, or what do we jump to 28 years? That sounds frightening. What's YouTube going to be doing in 28 years? The great human archive. But truly, we're going to keep going. We committed to continuing until the theaters are open. Odds are very good that we'll continue after that, because, you know, there are more stories to tell and more things to do. In 3 weeks, we'll be back with Scott R. Shepherd with a piece yet to be titled, but boy, am I acquiring a lot of dollhouse furniture. Not Ibsen. I made that joke last time. But let's see. So that's in 3 weeks, Monday, February 1st. Come, be here. Subscribe. That way you'll know about it. And
join our mailing list. We have a mailing list now.
And we'll try not to inundate you with too much, but, you know, enough. Oh gosh, what else? Always, you can donate. You can go to Fractured Atlas. Really appreciate those who have already tonight and tipped us. Thank you so much. Confetti throw.
Yes, and all of those donations go directly to the humans that you see right here. So thank you.
And again, have a great night. Stay safe. Stay well. It is a weird world out there, but there is still art to be made in it. And gosh, that's what I've got from the closet. This is a terrible sign-off. But no, Katie Rose likes it.
I like that one.
Okay. That's what I'll start with. I'm Joshua William Gelb, and that's what I've got from the closet. No, it's still...
Okay, not the second time.
Yeah,
it
we're
was
working
good the
on
first
it.
time.
We're working on it. Okay, sign off to come. Have a great night.